What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the BTR Garage. My name is Justin, and today we've got some maintenance upgrades for my 2002 Ford F-250. I've been dealing with a coolant leak on the 7.3 liter Power Stroke diesel engine for a little while now, and I tracked it back to the thermostat housing on the truck. So we have a few parts to replace there to fix that up. We're going to replace the upper radiator hose, the thermostat housing itself with an upgraded aluminum thermostat housing, and of course the thermostat while we're in there. Let's take a look at the parts we have and then get started taking it apart and putting the new stuff on. All right, we'll take a look at the parts that we have here. This is our thermostat. This is an OEM Motorcraft part. This is our thermostat housing. This is an aftermarket billet aluminum piece. Looks pretty cool. And the bolts that go along with it. And then our upper radiator hose, of course, which is different than what is on the truck currently. And I'll show you why this one is actually an upgrade over what is on there in just a minute. So we'll move into the engine bay and show you what we're going to be working on here. So you can see from this angle, this is our upper radiator hose right here. A little bit down below that, you can see the thermostat housing down in there. You can almost see where it has been leaking right below it. And this is the accessory belt that I mentioned that goes over this alternator here. You can see how the radiator hose goes underneath it. Now imagine if you had to change this belt. You would actually have to remove the upper radiator hose, which means you're draining the coolant just to change that belt out. So what the new radiator hose does is it actually routes around here to the right. If you see that little grooved spot under the alternator, the hose goes down and behind here and then over to the thermostat housing. So the hose actually goes behind the alternator accessory belts, and that allows you to change that belt if you needed to without having to drain the coolant and take that hose off. Now normally for this job you would have to drain some coolant out of the radiator in order to not make a huge mess when you remove that upper radiator hose. But since I've had a coolant leak already, enough coolant has leaked out of there that it should be pretty mess free when I go to take that hose off. Otherwise, do make sure you drain some radiator fluid out of the truck before doing this maintenance. So we'll position the camera here so you can see what we're working on, but basically what we're going to do is remove the retaining clip from the upper radiator hose here. There's another one down there by the thermostat housing. And then of course the 3 bolts down there on the thermostat housing as well. You can see 2 of them from here. We have to loosen those up to get the thermostat housing up, and then the thermostat is right below it. So we're going to start by taking off the thermostat housing down there. You can kind of see it below here. Sorry about the bad angle, really tough to get a camera down in there, but we're going to pop that off first since I don't think there's any coolant leaking from this. It should be mess free, but I did place a big pan underneath just in case. So we've got an 8mm socket on the wrench here. Looks like there is a little bit of coolant coming out. Looks like we need to pop the shroud off of the top here as well. Not a big deal. We should be able to get to the nut in the back there. And there is definitely coolant still in there. And with that, we're going to go underneath the truck and actually drain some radiator fluid out. You can find the drain for the radiator right underneath the driver's side of the truck. That little white knob there and the little nipple that's hanging off of it, that's where the radiator coolant will drain out to. So we've got a big bucket under there. We're going to drain some out, and then hopefully this won't be so messy. All right, let's see if we can loosen this thing up again without any coolant coming out. I think we might be all right. All right, so we've got the thermostat housing loosened up down there. Go ahead and remove the top hose clip here. Slide that down. Hopefully this guy will just come right off. There we go. All right, so take a look in the engine bay here now with the hose out. You can see the thermostat down there, it's still in there. So we'll pop that guy off, probably gonna need a tool or something to twist it out of there. Once we get that out, we'll clean up the hose ends on the radiator and also the seat down there where the thermostat housing goes. All right, it's a little pop with the screwdriver to get that out. Hope you can see this, but basically had to stick the screwdriver face down in the thermostat and just torque it over the outside of the thermostat housing, and that popped it up just enough to get it out of there. All right, now that we have everything out of the truck itself, let's go over the tool bench. We'll take a look at the difference between the old parts and the new parts. So all the parts laid out here. Obviously the stuff on the left is our new parts. You can tell the difference between the new billet aluminum thermostat housing over the old crusty one that they come with on the truck. Totally different piece, much nicer, much more solid. Hopefully will last a lot longer. This piece is known to corrode. You could even see the corrosion on mine here, maybe not in this camera angle, but it is corroding and getting old. And obviously the difference in the upper radiator hose itself and our thermostat, our new one here, same one was in there, the old one from previous. We're going to take the clips off of here, off the old hose, to put onto the new radiator hose, but now we're going to get everything installed back into the truck. We'll drop our thermostat in there first. We're going to grab some coolant to wrap around the O-ring on there, just as a little bit of lubrication. And this can go in any orientation. I am going to put it in the direction that I took the old one out. Some of them will have an arrow on the top of the thermostat. Doesn't really matter on this truck as long as the spring side is down, as you can see in this picture, hopefully. There's really only one way it will go in there anyways. Squish it down into place. Grab our nice new billet thermostat cover. Make sure that face is clean. Drop it down over the top. Start installing our bolts one by one. And you want to be careful not to over tighten these bolts. You want to tighten them to 100 inch-pounds, not any tighter, maybe even just a little bit less, so you don't break the bolts. That was 100 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. I think that's roughly 11 or 12 newton meters of torque, so not a lot. The rear bolts can be a little bit tricky getting back in there. We got it. We got our little torque wrench set to 100 inch-pounds. We'll go ahead and torque these into place. Not all the way to the torque spec right off the bat, but there we go. We're all clicked and torqued into place. We can now grab the upper radiator hose and get that guy installed. All right, so remember, this new hose is going to go back here behind the accessory belt, so we kind of need to fish it through here. My hands are going to block everything and make this part of the video completely worthless. Hopefully you can kind of see what we're doing here. Squish it, twist it down into place. Our upper radiator attachment is right here. So I'm going to try to get the part on the thermostat housing first. Don't forget to put your clips onto the hoses first as well. Once the hose is in the right position, we're going to grab our clamp here, put it back where it belongs. I can feel the lip on the hose right about there, so we'll put the clamp just after it. A little different view shows the hose down here in place. I just have to release the clamp here. These clamps are pretty nice. It has a little retainer on it, so when you open it up all the way, it will stay open so it's loose. Then all you have to do is pinch it again and it will clamp back into place. So I'm going to do that. Probably not going to be able to do it with the camera sitting here, so I'm going to put it on and then show you what it looks like with everything finished up. So there we go, everybody. The job is complete, other than adding coolant back into the truck. I have quite a bit of coolant that I have to top off because I had that coolant leak before. So do remember, if you drain the coolant from the truck, which you're probably gonna have to do, that you're adding coolant back in there before starting it back up. Obviously, bad things can happen if your coolant is really low. So I'm gonna throw the coolant back in there off camera here, check for leaks, make sure we're all good, and then I'll probably do a follow-up on this upgrade like I do with some of my others here in the near future. So pretty easy little upgrade overall. We got a new upper radiator hose in there that will make changing accessory belts easier in the future. We have that billet aluminum thermostat housing, which will last much longer than that stamped piece that's in there and known to corrode from the factory. And of course, a new thermostat as well. So thanks again, everybody, for watching. I really appreciate it. Again, you can find links to everything down in the description below. And if you have any thoughts or comments or questions about this upgrade, feel free to leave a comment down below as well. I would love to hear from you. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet and would like to see more Ford 7.3 videos or Ford pickup truck videos, or even my race car videos and the racing stuff that we're doing, please consider hitting that subscribe button down below. I would really appreciate it. So until the next one, stay safe out there. I am checking out. We'll talk to you all next time.